Well, hello there. This is Craig Hain, and I want to tell you about the SupraComputer. Now, my students call me Dr. Dell, and I've been teaching mathematics for many decades now. And in 2011, I wrote a book called Teaching Math, 21st Century Mathematics, a high school math curriculum that works for all students. Quite remarkably different from the current standard math curriculum, and you can learn all about it at triadmathinc.com. And in fact, you can get a free copy, a PDF copy of this book there, and learn all about the modern curriculum. But in this video, I want to discuss with you a modern tool that absolutely revolutionizes the way both students and professionals can learn and do mathematics. It's called the SupraComputer, and I want to demonstrate that to you in this video. Well, all right now, in another video on this web page, you can learn all about the SupraComputer and all the many different features it has. The SupraComputer does many things for many different people, has programming tools on it and office tools and all sorts of things. But what I want to talk to you about in this video is the tool Mathematica. This little red symbol right up here is the Mathematica tool. And this is what is on this SupraComputer that makes it so absolutely incredible for math students. Now you can go to the Wolfram Documentation Center and learn all about this powerful tool called Wolfram Language. But right now what I want to do is I want to discuss with you the powerful tool that you can use in this called Wolfram Alpha. Now this is a notebook that you can store things in, and that's very important. Wolfram Alpha is a free tool on the internet, but you can't easily store Wolfram things that you do. You come up to this little plus sign, and if you just use the default, that's called Wolfram Language, and that's a very powerful modern programming language, which you'll learn to use if you want to when you buy the SupraComputer. But Wolfram Alpha is the thing that we want to use here, so I'll click on that, and this is Wolfram Alpha. Now, if you've used Wolfram Alpha before, then you probably have a pretty good idea of what it can do, but for some people it's a brand new idea. This is a tool that was introduced about 2009. It's extremely powerful, and it will answer almost any question you can think of in mathematics and lots of other subjects as well. And I in particular want to talk to you about it as it pertains to mathematics. Well, first of all, it will simply solve virtually any kind of a math problem you want to give it. So I'm going to give it a very simple algebra problem. Solve x squared minus 3x plus 6 equals 0 and hit return. And when I do that, you'll see up here it says running. Now, Wolfram Alpha is actually doing this in a bank of computers somewhere, I think in Champaign, Illinois. It's a very powerful program. And when it gets it solved, it'll come back and give you the solution then on your SupraComputer. Now, you have to be hooked to the internet, of course, which we are, through Wi-Fi. You can hook through Wi-Fi or Ethernet, as you know. And then this is the answer. So this solved this problem. This little hat 2 means exponent. And this gives it the interpretation of what you put in. Solve x squared minus 3x plus 6 equals 0. And here it gives you the solution. Now, the solution turns out to be two complex numbers, and you can see them, and it graphs them for you in the complex plane, which you've learned to do in a good algebra class if you took it. And this is the answer. Now, you may say, well, I'm an engineer. I would like to know the answer in terms of just an approximate form. So you hit approximate forms, and immediately it gives it to you then in terms of approximate numbers. So you don't have to worry with the square roots and all that. Or you can go back to the exact forms if you want to do so. Now, here's the thing that's really a big deal about this. You can also, if you're a student and you want to know how to do this manually, then you can come over here to where it says step-by-step solution and click on that. And now once again, you're going to have to wait for a little while, and then it pops up and shows you the step-by-step solution. And it tells you here, there's two ways to do this. You can complete the square, which you probably learned to do if you've taken algebra, or you can use something called the quadratic formula, another way to do it. But what it does for you is it comes down here, and let me move down a little bit, and it says what to do. Solve for x, and it tells you subtract x from both sides. Add 9/4 to both sides. Then you want to write the left-hand side as a square, then that's why you added 9/4, so you could do that. Then you take the square root of both sides, and then you add 3/2 to both sides. And so this is the step-by-step procedure, and you end up then with the final answer. So if you are learning to use the manual technique in, say, an algebra class, and you've got to learn that, then this is like a tutor to show you how to do it. And the good news is this applies to virtually any math problem you're ever going to run into. So I'll give you a couple more quick examples. Now, the first thing that's a really big deal is if you use the free version of Wolfram Alpha on a regular computer, when you go to type in another problem, you lose that when it's gone. And there's no easy way to save it that I know of. But this is saved in your notebook. You'll be able to come back later and see that in your notebook. And that's really great when you're doing lots and lots of problems and you want to go back and review what you did. Now let's do another problem. Let's do a calculus problem. This is something that will come up in Calculus 2 in Techniques of Integration. And I'm going to give it the command integrate x sine of x squared. And I'm going to hit return. And then it's going to go off and it's going to do this. Now it's running and it's a bank of computers somewhere. And by the way, it does it pretty fast. It sends you back the answer and it tells you here's the answer. The answer is minus 1/2 cosine of x squared. And of course this is really so it solved the problem for you. Now there are many techniques of integration that really give people a lot of trouble because there's lots of different techniques to use. It's not always clear which one to use, and sometimes they don't work, as I'll show you in a moment. But it gave you the answer, and it went ahead and graphed it for you, and it also gave you a series expansion of it if you wanted it, and even an example of it with a definite integral. Now, this is wonderful. If you're an engineer, this may be all you want. You want the solution to the problem, and you want it quick and easy. Of course, in the old days, and in fact the way it's still taught many times, is you would have to go and figure this out manually. So if you're going to do it manually, you hit step-by-step solution over here, and you wait. It takes a while. Remember now, we're getting the answer from somewhere, and it comes back and it tells us what to do. It says, we're going to do this. We're going to take this integral. This is the problem. Now we're going to use a method of substitution. If you know calculus, this will make sense. If you don't, you can just kind of slur over it. But you let u equal x squared, du equals 2x dx, so you substitute. And this integral then becomes 1/2 sine of u. Now you know, if you know calculus at all, then you know that the antiderivative of the sine of u is minus the cosine of u. But then you have to substitute back in u equals x squared, and you get the answer. So now I taught you how to do this manually step by step. And that is really, really quite important. And of course it's going to be saved, and it also graphs the answer for you and gives you some additional information about it in an alternative form. It shows you the series expansion of it. You always, very often, you want to know the series expansion. By the way, this Taylor series would take you a long time to figure out. And if you're an engineer and you want to do an approximate, you put this in as an approximate function, a polynomial function, then this is already here for you. It thought you might want that, so it gave that to you for free. And then I'm going to show you now something that's even more remarkable. Of course, the reason you want the antiderivative is you want to use the fundamental theorem to actually calculate a definite integral. So here's a problem. Integrate sine of x squared from minus 1.7 to 3.2. And I'm going to hit the return key, and now I'm going to let it do it. Now, normally, you would have to find an antiderivative of this and then evaluate it at the limits to get the answer. And it comes back and it tells us, here's the answer, the definite integral from minus 1.7 up to 3.2 of sine of x squared is 1.62. Now, if you're an engineer or physicist or whatever, and you wanted the answer, this is the answer. You got it. You say, well, what if I didn't have a tool like this? Well, then you'd have to find an antiderivative. And that sounds easy enough. That's what they teach you in calculus, except there's a dirty secret that they don't tell you in calculus, and that is that many times a function does not have an antiderivative in terms of any ordinary function. And this is one of those examples. The antiderivative of this is something called a special function. In this case, it is called a Fresnel integral, which is actually expressed with an infinite series. And to find that manually would be extremely difficult, time-consuming. I won't say impossible, that's going a little too far, but for practical purposes it's impossible. And in fact, if you come up here and look at this, you'll see there is no step-by-step solution offered to you because there is no step-by-step solution that can be done in any reasonable amount of time. Now this is really, truly revolutionary. Because when you're studying physics or engineering or any kind of technical subject, you have a math model and you need to find things like integrals, for example. That's just one example. And you need to be able to do it every time. Well, this tool lets you do that. You cannot do that when you only have the old manual tools, and even if you did know how to use them, it takes so long to do it. So that's a truly remarkable aspect of this Wolfram Alpha. Now, this just doesn't apply to engineers and scientists and so forth. Anybody that's studying math that has to solve problems. For example, suppose you were taking finite math at Indiana University or some school that was teaching finite math. You would be expected to be able to solve three linear equations in x, y, and z and get a solution for them. And so you can just tell Wolfram Alpha, solve it. You plug in your three linear equations and tell it to solve. I did it already. And bang, it comes back with the solutions. There they are. So if all you care is the solution, you got it. But if you told it to do step by step, which I already did to save time, it comes down and it shows you. Now, first of all, there's different ways to do it. It's going to use elimination, which is really one of the better ways. Substitution is another great way. Gaussian elimination, which they often teach, is the most clumsy way to do it. I never recommend that, but it'll do it if you want to. It'll just be much longer. And then there's something called Cramer's rule that, heaven help you, you wouldn't want to use that. Although it works. It's a classical tool that works. Well, this is going to be the elimination method, and it shows you step by step how to do it. And you come down through here, and I'm not going to go over this with you. I'm just showing you that it's teaching you step by step how to solve this equation, these three equations using the elimination method, and you end up with the solution. So if you had to do this manually, if you had to learn it manually, then this is your tutor to teach you how to do it. And that can be extremely valuable. It's a lot easier than struggling with something you didn't understand and going through it. So this is what makes this tool so extremely powerful. As a matter of fact, it even solves problems in the most elementary subjects for even beginning students. It also will solve problems in the most advanced subjects like differential equations or multivariate calculus or volumes of revolution, things of that nature. There's virtually no limit to what Wolfram Alpha will not do. And finally, I'll point out now that we've done all of these problems here in this notebook, and they're all saved here now. We don't have to throw this away. Let's say you did your homework, you did a bunch of problems, and now if you're using Wolfram Alpha, the free version, you don't have these saved, but these are all saved. Now you can come up here with your SupraComputer, hit File, and go down and say Save As, and you pick a folder to put it in. I've just got a folder with a whole bunch of demos in it here. And you just put it down here. Let's just say this was the demo for this video. I'm just going to give it a name, and I'm going to hit save, and it did. It is doing it. It's probably saved by now. And now I can come back here and I can turn this off. Okay, now I come back another day and I want to go back and review my homework that I did. Now, like I said, you can use Wolfram Alpha for free on any computer, but there's no easy way to save the thing, but we've got it saved now. So what I'm going to do is come over here, hit File, and go down and hit Open, and go to the right folder and look for it. Oh, let's see, here's Demo for Video. That's the one we just did together, and it takes a little time to come up. I've got to say Enable Dynamics, and I do that, and just got to wait a little bit here. And it's formatting the notebook contents. It's taking a little bit of time, and there it is. And now I've got my homework back. And this is a really, really valuable thing. You can learn math so much better when you can go in and play and try different problems and put in different numbers and try different things, and then go back and review and see what you did before and compare notes. For example, we did x sine of x squared and we got one answer. Then when we did this, it was a special function. It had to be done differently. Now, I will tell you, I have taught mathematics, calculus, differential equations, linear algebra, you name it, conic sections, everything, for years, many, many times. And when I got to playing with Wolfram Alpha, I learned it much better than I'd ever learned it before, even though I'd taught it many times, because you get to do problems so much easier. And if you are interested in just science or engineering, then this just lets you do the problems so much quicker and easier. You don't even need to learn the manual techniques. You only need to learn those if somebody insists that you learn them, and they're going to test you on it. So that's what this is all about. If you're a STEM student or a math student, even taking like finite math, or even a high school student taking algebra, this is going to save you an immense amount of time. It's going to make it much, much easier for you to learn mathematics and to do it. And you can focus on learning the concepts and not on all the old archaic manual tools that were developed. They're wonderful tools developed by our ancestors back in the 1700s and 1800s, but they're obsolete now, just like manual carpentry tools are no longer the way you would do modern carpentry. Okay, did you hear that click? I just turned on the supercomputer. I'm in the dark, and it's going to come up in about 30 seconds. It's a Linux operating system, and so I don't have to worry about viruses, and I don't have to worry about uploading all the time and changing things. And it only takes 30 seconds every time I turn it on. And it's coming up as we speak, and just a moment, the TV will come on. It's hooked to an LED TV I happen to be using. Use any kind of a monitor or TV anywhere you are, any kind of a keyboard or mouse you want to use. It's all very easy to use, and here it is. It's come up now. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to tell you one more thing, and to do that, I'm going to go to the Chromium browser, which is what Linux uses. It's a very good browser. It blocks ads and so on. And I had a bunch of tabs open here when I shut off the computer last time, and I didn't lose them. I can hit restore here, and up is going to come all of these tabs again that I had open. Now, the tab that, there's lots of different tabs I had open. For Triad Math is our home, our main company, for example. So if you go to Triad Math, you're going to get tons and tons of information about our company. And but the supercomputer is what we were talking about today, of course. And so here's SupraComputer. We have a workforce math site for the practical workforce. I use Wikipedia a great deal, and I use YouTube a great deal. And so anyway, the supercomputer site, what I wanted to show you here is you go to the supracomputer.org site and you have a supercomputer club. Now what I want you to do is I want you to open that up, and I just open it in a new tab, and you want to go there. When you buy a supercomputer today, you become a member of the club. You can join the club without buying one. That costs money, of course, but it comes with the supercomputer. Now here's the deal. There are tons and tons of training videos that are going to teach you how to use this tool. Wolfram Alpha is a wonderful tool, but if you don't know how to use it, what good is it going to be? And so we have training on how to use it for algebra and linear algebra and calculus and trigonometry and differential equations and you name it. And there are many, many, many videos that come with it. So it'll be very easy for you to learn, depending on where you are in your training and what you want to know about. If you're using calculus, you want to know about it. Differential equations, you want to know about it. Algebra, you want to know about it. All that training is there. Plus there's a user manual, of course, and there's training on the user manual. It's very easy to use the supercomputer, and I just wanted to tell you that so that you would be aware that that is what you're going to also be getting, and you really need that. The supercomputer wouldn't be that valuable to you if you didn't know how to use it. And this club is what's going to make it possible. So you go there and read all about it, and you'll see all that's involved, and that's it. Now, I hope that you as a student will be able to get a supercomputer so that you can really excel at your math, whether you're a STEM student or a math student or whatever. So this is Dr. Dell wishing you a great future.